my teaching field didn't match up. They had no vacancies for what I was certified for. So they moved on. I think their JV coach got the job. I took this job. That job opened up in the spring. And I took that as a sign that God was like, okay, here's your chance. Go.
Listen, when the universe says go, walk in your purpose, you better run.
Yes, so I ran. And in hindsight, I don't feel like God was telling me that. I think he was just testing me. I had made my mind up that I really wanted to go where help was needed. I didn't want to go manage egos, meaning kids that were already really good, had resources, had parent involvement. They were going to be able to go to college and do other things because of who was in their life. I wanted to go and lend my guidance to kids that needed it. And but I love to win, and winning lured me. I said, hey, I'm going to get out of this in a couple of years. I want to leave a winner.
I don't mean to stop you, but we have so many comments rolling in. Let's acknowledge some of them. We have Miss Valencia Higgins that said, okay. So I can imagine she said, okay. Let me go ahead and put some emphasis on that. We have Amelia Young who says, so proud of you, Tamika.
That's my
and we have Valencia back.
That's my teacher.
Oh, awesome, Miss Amelia. Oh, so sweet. And then we have Miss Alicia who says, life comes at you fast. I guess that's the segment we were talking about. Hey, we have to check our health. We have to slow down. And Valencia says that life comes fast. That's why I always preach, do you. Do what ultimately what you want to ultimately do. And then also you have Miss Almika. She says, so proud of you, Tamika. So you definitely have solid people in your corner. That makes me happy because you're doing big things. And our community needs you. But keep going. I'm sorry. I just wanted to shout everybody out.
I want to wrap it up. It's long and drawn out.
No.
Basically, I went to that school, and about 2 weeks after accepting the job, not publicly, but privately, I hadn't signed any paperwork, but I accepted it. I got a direct message from an anonymous person. I kind of ignored it and did some digging. It came from a high school volleyball account on Twitter, which I didn't know who ran the account, so I really didn't respond. Did a little research and realized it was a African-American lady my age. Immediately recognized her because there's very few in suburban volleyball. So we all generally have seen each other and end up exchanging numbers. And she warns me that I have made a terrible mistake taking the job. Yeah, she informs me their underlying racial issues and tensions, that the parent involvement was over the top. It was going to be a huge pressing issue, that the parents basically ran it. It sounding like my old job times 10. But I was stuck. I took the job, and I think we were about 14-7 before it got crazy. An anonymous letter was written and mailed to kids through the U.S. mail. And it was a letter to the athletic director who hired me, calling him names. They were really unhappy with him because he had been losing. And their final straw was him hiring me. And they questioned my IQ. I needed a psychological
evaluation.
It went on to state other personal jabs at me. What followed the letter was my principal obviously informed me that, I know these parents, they like control, this will blow over. It did not blow over. And there was incidents of parents waiting for me at the exit. I filed a protective order. And my family and friends actually started coming to the games. The kids were really, really nice. They were very coachable. We to this day, I think I ended up talking to one of the kids, just kind of asking her what went wrong. And she said, you were the first person that came there. She was an African-American kid. And everybody had to earn everything. And you really ticked off 3 people, and their parents were very influential. So they went on to give me a very hard time. And I started thinking about a career outside of coaching. Just what else was I good at? Just what else was I good at? What else could I do? And really decided that was going to be my last year. The final straw that really made me decide, I'm done with this when this is over. I was nearly attacked at school. I'm a special education teacher, and I was in a classroom with a young lady that was bipolar. She was on meds. She was mixing those meds with street drugs. And she was new to the school, so we didn't have all of her information. So we were doing the best we could with what we knew about her. Yeah. She was a little older for high school. She was like 19 or 20. She had a lot of challenges. She was a kid that came here from New Orleans. So kid was very, very confrontational. We did the best with her. One day I'm just in the classroom doing work on the computer, and she calls me over to her desk. She had complimented me a lot. Thank you, thank you so much. Her mood was prone to going up and down. She would kind of roll her eyes, cuss you out, or really, really want to be your friend. So it was a little scary. She asked me to come over to her desk, and she had a printout on her desk, and she asked me what was on the printout. And I said, oh, that's a lion. And whatever she heard, she jumps out the desk, and she said, I called her a liar. Oh, I mean, it went way. She cornered me, and I was in a classroom with a non-working phone. I mean, they didn't have your cell phone. I couldn't get to it. Yeah, I couldn't get to it. I just backed behind whatever I could as she stood up, and it was a barrier. A football coach who shared the room with me. We were talking her down. A teacher walked by and saw it and went told the campus police. Mind you, I'm dealing with the athletic stuff. This happens. Yeah. My principal says, hey, you can take the day. By now, I've also filed with the EEOC because I believe at this point I'm being targeted based on my gender and race. Right. So that's going on. I have a game, so I can't go far. I hang out in the area. Just really, really sad. Like, God, I couldn't have heard you wrong. I was going to
ask you, how are you feeling? Like, this is crazy.
Really sad. It never gets old being rejected. Every single school I went to outside of the school I started at, even the minority school I went to in between dream job and this job, I was the first Black female coach, either in the entire athletics, like they've never hired a Black woman. And every single one of them, I was the first Black volleyball coach. So the experience was always overwhelming. It was always overwhelming. I was always nitpicked for things no one cares about with people, coaches that aren't Black, how you look, how you stand, how you smile, how you dress. Yeah. It had created a really high pressure environment because anything could be microanalyzed and it would be associated with that I'm Black and that we don't do well in this and we don't do this well and we're not able. So that pressure was
isms and stereotypes you had to deal with every day.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So that day we played the game. My uncle came because by now I've got people all over the bleachers just in case. Yeah. My uncle. My assistant taps me. I turn to look at my uncle, and he mouths the word Zuri. Where's Zuri? That's my daughter. Okay. I had a routine of my aunt. I would inform her on game day. She would go and get Zuri for me, and then I would go and I would get home 9:30, 10 o'clock, and she would put Zuri to bed. I forgot in a haste and with everything going on. It was about 7:30. I had forgot to make arrangements for my daughter.
Oh, wow.
I was devastated. My uncle called, realized the daycare, I had my aunt as emergency contact. They called her, got my daughter to her, which I lived really close to the daycare. And I was embarrassed because I forgot my kid. Like that's the most important job I have on this earth.
Right. That's right.
I was extremely overwhelmed, embarrassed to see the daycare workers the next day, like who leaves their kid. So I knew then I was done. I was done.
That was it, huh? I know that's right. That's it. You could have just packed your stuff up and left the same day, huh?
Exactly. Wow. Yeah. So I finished that school year out all the way to June. But that January, I started Grit and Grind Athletics, which is my own personal business, where I do volleyball skills training, leadership training, mental toughness training. And I only work with schools with low resources. So I launched that. And that summer, I picked up 5 clients, 5 high schools. Most of the coaches, I knew them. They knew me. They knew that I understood the challenges they had. I put together a great program to get their kids ready for the season at an extremely low price, very high quality. I think I did 5 camps in 13 days. I worked like 10-hour days. They appreciated the effort. It really blew up. I believe I probably had 10 offers, but I didn't have a staff, so I didn't want to overwhelm myself. But it ended up being really, really great. I think this year I had 12 planned, but COVID stopped it. I was really looking forward to the growth. And that's something that I'm hoping I can employ college age athletes to come and help me run in the near future. So,
let them know where they can go to your website to find that more information about that.
Okay, and that's gritandgrindathletics.com.
Awesome, girl. Woo, you have just an amazing backstory. My God, I just never, who knew? You know what I mean? With that being said, the next question is, what inspired you to come up with the title that you came up with for your book, Grateful and Greedy?
Okay, so that same awful year, I had a co-teacher. She was amazing. Her name's Melody Wyatt. She's from Florida. She's a little older than me, had been teaching 20 years. And we'd have these amazing conversations. She's a Christian. We were raised very similar, had the same values. And every time she would complain, she would stop herself and say, grateful or greedy, Mel, grateful or greedy. And she's like, you can only be one. And I remember totally agreeing with that initially when she said it. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like how I was raised. My grandmother made us quote a verse every year when I was like 8 years old. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And, my grandmother made us look at everything through a lens of gratitude. That was the very principle I was brought up on. But when I started to reflect and think about the title, which it was going to be Grateful or Greedy, and then, the subtitle, I said, wait a minute. I've never been either or. I've never been just grateful. Since I was 8 years old, I was greedy. That's why I was booked. And I read books and I got a chance to see that there was a world out there I knew nothing about, but I could aspire to. I got greedy. Like I got to find this. I got to get to this. I don't have resources, but it goes back to I used every single free resource I could. I was a respectful kid because I knew adults, if you're respectful, they would help you. I showed a lot of initiative. I would go and get things started. If my grandmother, was moving slow on something, I'd fill the paperwork out and she just got to sign it. And if I needed to sign it, I signed it.
Yes, I love it.
I signed it. I can't be waiting. When I filled out FAFSA for college, my grandma was loafing. I was like, I need your date of birth, your social security. I need your tax documents.
Let's get it together. Let's get this free money. Stop playing.
My brothers are like, I'm waiting on Granny. Okay. So I would have never even gotten to that job. I don't interview for an affluent white school where kids are driving Audis and Mercedes, and I don't even get there. I'm not the first African-American volleyball coach at these schools if I'm not sharp, if I'm not together, if something about me, if I hadn't been greedy, if I just settled for, okay, my grandparents raised me, if I graduate high school and just go get a job and
right,
I'm gonna be better, that's going to be better than some of the people in my neighborhood. That's good enough. I was like, this is what y'all gonna give me. I'm gonna turn it into this. I was a kid who started playing sports at 13, and I had the audacity to tell people my dream was to play basketball and volleyball at a Division I college. And I did it because I was crazy enough to believe that I could. So when I thought about my life, I said, you know what, when I got to be a teacher, it was stable. It was a stable career. When I got my check, I was like, whew.
I know, right? I can rest, I can ease. Yeah.
And that kept me in teaching for a little bit. I remember being urged to go and try college, which a lot of people don't know. College volleyball salaries are really low. Unless you're at a Power 5 school, it's very low. I made more as a teacher than some of my friends who coach college volleyball. I was like, no, I grew up poor. I went to college to get money. I'm not going back to being poor.
Come on now. Yes, right.
This anxiety will go away. I'll get the hang of this. It'll go away. Once I've done 10 or 15 years, these parents, they'll get better. And they didn't. They're worse. And they're still bad. I have friends still in there and they're crazy.
But I really love your transparency. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought about it and I was like, grateful is good for you. But if you want impact, then you got to get greedy because, and I guess I'll go ahead and talk about my definition of greedy. I know people think greedy and they're like, that's bad. That means all for self.
That's because we're taught that, right? Aren't we taught that growing up? Like, don't be greedy. It's not all about the money. Then what is it about then? These bills don't stop.
Exactly. And I'm the same way, super duper humble person. I don't even like accepting gifts from people or help. Awful trait. But my definition of greedy is if you passionately pursue your passions, if you on purpose all out are pursuing your passions, your goal, and you're never settling, which sometimes being so grateful you can do, then you're gonna rub off on others, and that's impact. And so ultimately I decided that I stayed in high school coaching. I was seeking impact. That's it. Impact. I want to impact because of the way coaches had impacted me. But because I was settling, I couldn't see that I was being impactful because I was settling on my own values, goals. I knew what type of integrity I had. I didn't want to be in an environment that didn't have that same integrity. I knew what was important to me. I didn't want to be in a job that valued the work we were doing over you being there for your family or, I knew who I was and I got into coaching and realized this isn't really who I am. And I stayed in there because I was grateful that, listen, I made it out the neighborhood. Teaching is a suitable career. I'm a coach. It used to have a lot of respect, the title coach. I think that is not so much. I would have stayed, but I really think that if you're going to have impact, if you're going to reach your highest potential, you need to be greedy. You need to be greedy. You need to be both. You need to be both. Grateful is for you. Being grateful allows you to be happy. It's the perspective you take on to maintain your happiness, and that is great. But you can't impact others just being grateful. So my book is about how I was greedy all along, since I was a kid, and just maybe unconsciously accepting society's standards of what it meant to make it. Somewhere along the way, I just got grateful and I got laxed. And, now I'm challenging that and going forward the rest of my life. I am challenging the just be grateful and deal with it mentality.
I love it. Because you're going to wake so many people up. You're gonna wake so many people.